What's up, BB Besties? I have a live feed update today.
Hey, BB friends, here's a quick update.
Welcome to the Girl Gab podcast. Join your hosts, Allie and Nikki.
Welcome back to the Girl Gab podcast. I'm Allie. I'm joined with Nicolette and also a very special guest, our friend Allie from TikTok. Hi, Allie. How are you doing?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Wonderful. Peachy.
Great. Happy that the day is over.
Yeah. So this is a special segment of the Girl Gab podcast. It is the first edition of our special segment that we are calling Waffle Wednesday. And what is Waffle Wednesday? Well, for all of you people that might be new to Big Brother or have never seen Big Brother, Waffle Wednesday is what we call the day in which things just start twisting and turning for various reasons, but normally because it is right before evictions are locked in. You can't do anything else. So it's after the power of veto. Myself and Nicolette thought it would be really fun to start this 10 or so week series so that we can just start getting motivated for the Big Brother season, because we are literally one Big Brother season away from a Big Brother season.
Yeah, can't come soon enough. I'm super excited. As soon as the weather starts warming up a little bit, I'm like, where's BB at? I need it immediately.
And it's warm today. It's like in Kentucky is currently 74 degrees. That is so warm right now. Like, I need to take this sweater
have
off.
a tank top on.
Yes.
Ellie, you're Ohio?
Ohio.
Yeah. So similar weather circumstance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so every single Wednesday, we are going to be dropping a short episode where we discuss a chaos creator. So who gave us some of the best Waffle Wednesdays? Who gave us some of the most crazy and chaotic moments, both as viewers and just causing torment within the Big Brother house? And speaking of torment, our first Big Brother house guest we will be talking about is none other than the biggest tormentor I can ever imagine, Evel Dick.
Yes.
Evel Dick.
The original pots and pans banger.
I do love Josh, but yes, Dick started it all. Evel Dick was on season 8 and he won. And that's super controversial win. There's a lot of controversy around that, whether or not production helped him win. That's I don't like to speculate too much on what production did, but it is pretty relevant to mention it.
Yeah.
The whole mirror window, whatever we're calling it, incident. People think that maybe he was able to see the answers of another house guest, and so
I think
there's that.
Also on top of that, the conversation, another big part of that conversation of production helping him wasn't necessarily production, but it was America, because like we have said multiple times on this podcast, justice for Eric Stein. But Eric Stein, there was 1 week where he was the deciding vote between Dick and someone else.
Literally.
And America decided his vote, and it did not go in the way of Dick going home. So, I don't know,
Yeah, so that is, like you said, actually, Eric Stein really is the reason why he was able to make it to finale night. If it wasn't for that, Dick was going home.
Yes, his vote was completely decided by America. He didn't get a say. Because he was hoping that they would go for voting for Evel Dick. Like in his diary room sessions, and even when he sat down to open the envelope to read what the vote was going to be, he was like, please, America, help me out here. And then he was like mad about it.
Yes, because of us, Dick won. And to be honest, like what year was that? That was like 2006? 2007. So I was literally like in the 7th grade. So like I enjoyed it. That was like one of the first times I saw a person act like that on TV. Like that was unprecedented at that time. So I could see why, because obviously in 7th grade, I don't know if I was voting. I was like on the house phone. Like I don't remember if I voted or not. But I was in my room on my green phone that lit up when it rang, Yeah.
See-through?
See-through with all the...
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I don't remember if I voted or not, but if I did, I definitely would have at that time voted for Evel Dick. Now, we will jump into this. I'm fast forwarding just slightly. We will jump into this towards the end of the episode. But now, what we know about Evel Dick now, I think most of us don't condone some of his behavior. So,
yeah, 100%.
that's just a little teaser for the end of the episode. Okay, so he ended up winning season 8, and like we said, there were some reasons that he won that we know some, we speculate others. And then he was controversial because he was sitting next to his daughter on finale night, and that season's twist was that a close loved one, family member, whatever, was going to be in the house with, certain house guests, and they didn't know before they got into the house. So it was pretty famous because Danielle was like crap when she saw her dad because they hadn't talked in so long. So I think that's a reason why America loved that situation so much, because it was a true, like, even though Evil Dick was a dick, pun intended, he was also giving America what we in 2007 would love to see, like a heartfelt rekindling story between daughter and son. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. That's exactly what I was thinking the entire time I watched that season. You were just rooting for him just because of the turbulent situation that they came from. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and you guys can speak on this a little bit, but since that season, they have had ups and downs, right? Like, obviously, we saw him continue on to season 13, and I was super excited about season 13 because I personally love a season where we have some returnees and some not. I know that is not agreeable across all people in the community, but I do actually like a returnee season where we're not getting a full returnee cast. We're getting like 4 people or whatever. But this particular season, the returnees were set up for like true success because there was, I believe it was an even split between returnees and newbies, I think, right? It was even. It was like 8 and 8.
It was 6
I
and
think it was
6,
6
or
and 8.
6 on returners.
Yeah,
Okay,
definitely
so they were a
6
little
for
bit
returners.
outnumbered. You're right, because that was part of the okay, yes, that was part of the issue because there was a blow up after. Okay, so Evil Dick ends up saying on like the first day, like, because everyone assumed that him and Danielle, his daughter, had rekindled, and they had. But after he won, and that wasn't his goal to win BB-8, it was actually his goal to have Danielle win, but the jury voted for him, which honestly, I agree with that. I actually agree with that move because Danielle would not have won without her dad, and I do think that despite him causing so much chaos the way he did, and we will talk about that momentarily, I think it was rightfully deserved. What do you guys think? Do you think he deserved it?
Absolutely. He was the one that was playing for it the entire season. If he wasn't there, Danielle wouldn't have stood a chance, in my opinion.
No, I 100% agree. He was the one that had the strategy. And then she kind of just followed his lead. And then anytime that she did kind of get herself in a sticky situation, he would cause chaos to where it would take the attention off of her and put the attention on him. Yeah, she would not have made it without him. And we see how well strategically she played in future seasons without his guidance. Not great.
Yeah. And something that's interesting about that is, I think that despite Evil Dick notoriously being a really terrible dad, he still loved his daughter so much that he wanted her to win. I truly believe that. I truly don't think he thought they were going to vote for him because you got to put yourself in the shoes of BB-8. That was not common. I mean, if we roll back to like Danielle's season, for example, the reason she lost is because the jury was bitter. Like, it wasn't common for us to have juries respect crazy players. They were upset by them usually.
Especially to this level.
Yeah.
Like,
so
this wasn't just comments in the diary room.
So let's talk about what happened. If you want, we can just go ahead and talk about what happened to that level, and then we can talk about his time on BB-13 if you want to do it that way. Okay, so you tell me a little bit about what you remember, Nicolette, and then we'll go to Allie.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I've been watching some clips to prepare, and it's truly wild that he was able to get away with a bunch of the things that he did and said. Because I was even hunting for actual live feed clips so I can see the unedited version, and I am just like, this would not fly for even a single second today at all. I mean, anything from, like I said in the beginning, waking people up with pots and pans, talking about people, like using, the thing was, when he got into it with someone, he went for the jugular. He was not afraid of making extremely personal attacks against people, and almost everyone except for Jen would kind of just take it or leave the room to avoid, and Jen did quite the opposite.
Yeah. She did. All right, Allie, what is your biggest memories of season 8 and
Yeah,
specifically
so
related to Dick?
so specifically for Dick, I think a lot of people forget, like everyone remembers the antics and crazy stuff that he was doing, but a lot of people forget the reason why he was doing it, and it was to protect Danielle, because no matter what, everyone's gonna hate Dick over Danielle, and he was ensuring that. So like that's strategy. I don't think anyone else has had a reason to play. I guess Sari could have tried that, but it wouldn't really make sense for her game. But yeah, the crazy
Mm-hmm.
antics, specifically him versus Jen, I loved it.
Yeah. Yeah. And who was it that so one of the memories that I have was where he's like, cigarettes? Was that Jen that was the cocktail waitress? Who was
No,
it?
that was Amber.
Yeah. So he's
Mhm.
like, cigarettes. Like, I forget what he said, but I
Mhm.
just, that clip of him saying cigarettes, like it runs through my head way more often than I would like to admit. And so that was I guess the infamous pots and pans, because he was waking up people with pots and
Mhm.
pans. He was really upset because he said in his confessional, in his diary room, he was like, yeah, they're going to vote out Danielle this week. So I'm going to make sure it's me that gets voted out. So to Allie's point, his goal wasn't even to make it to the final 2 with his daughter. His goal was to make sure that if between the 2 of them was going home that week or honestly, Dick didn't have a long-term game. They were talking about Danielle, let me flip it so that they vote somebody else out. And if I can't do that, I'll make them vote me out.
Yeah.
It wasn't like he had some kind of long-term strategy. He just had I need to survive this week strategy.
Yeah, because he at different points worked with multiple people in the house and then immediately was going head to head with that same person. Like there were times that him and Eric were on the same team. There were times that him and Zach were on the same team. I mean, even times him and Jamaica were getting along well, which I mean is wild to even think about, but it's true.
Wait, let's stop. Let's talk about Jamaica for a second, because now my gears are turning about Jamaica. That was another controversial moment that he had, right? So this is why I am pro. Let me just put a side note, a cliff note in here. This is why I am pro. We need HOHs live. But infamously, Evil Dick immediately following an HOH, part of it was live and part of it was not, because obviously they had to cut to Julie and then move on. But he was infamously yelling at her after the HOH competition a particular week, and he made a comment about something to the effect of, if you guys remember, tell me, it was something to the effect of you're such a Christian, something, something, something. And that struck a nerve, man. She jumped on him like a spider monkey.
Yes.
Yeah. So do you remember that moment, Allie?
Yes, just them going back and forth. It was in the backyard specifically.
Yes.
I have that, just them going back and forth at it.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was one of my crazy moments that I had on my list with him. And then the most infamous, I think, that everybody talks about is when Evil Dick touched Danielle or Jen with a cigarette. And I would like to hear y'all's perspective, because this is my perspective. And I did go rewatch this clip today to see what I thought, to make sure my perspective from 2007, nearly 20 years ago, still matched. I don't know that he intended to burn her. I actually think he was trying to get away from me, because he was blowing his smoke to annoy her. Yes. But she was also in his space, and he asked her to back up, and she didn't back up. I relate this to being a parent, right? I've gotten a call from the school before, and they're like, hey, I just want to let you know, there was an altercation, but I also want to, they always preface it by saying the other child was taking your child's lunch and kind of taunting him, and your child asked for it back. And I have the type of child that he's only going to use his words one time, and then after that he might take matters in it. Street yard justice, okay? And so that's the way I see Evil Dick. He asked her to back up, and she kept saying, but you're blowing smoke in my face, and doing crazy stuff. And then he burned her. No. Was he taunting her? Absolutely, because I think right before that he was packing her belongings, or was that the week prior? It was either the week prior or that same week that he packed up all of her stuff and locked it in his HOH room. I think it was that week, actually, because I think he was HOH when he burned her with the cigarette, and that's why she went home on his HOH. But you guys correct me if I'm wrong.
I don't
Was that
remember,
the
to be
same
honest.
time? Was that the same
Go
time
ahead,
that
Allie.
he dumped the tea or whatever on her head too?
Different time. I think.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, but yeah,
I know that when he locked her clothes, he locked them in the HOH room because I remember that. I remember that's how he was able to even do it. Because where else would you lock them that she couldn't get HOH room? But I can't remember if it was that same night or not. But nonetheless, he had tormented her. But the way I remember the cigarette burning was not necessarily him intending to burn her, but I remember at that time, like articles and news channels reporting that he intentionally burned her, and like people were asking for him to be dismissed from the show. So what do you guys remember, like your live action thoughts or anything during that time?
during the time, I was so Team Dick at the time. So what he could do no wrong in my eyes. Even if he intentionally did it, it made no difference to me because I was 13 maybe.
I agree. Same. I was
Yeah.
about the same age. Yeah. Nicolette,
Uh,
what were you also Team Dick during those years?
Yeah, and I'm glad that I went back and watched the clip because I swear that in my brain, I remember her like reaching out to grab the cigarette, not that he was the one that moved forward with it. So my brain remembered her being like an idiot and grabbing the cigarette. I don't know.
She kind of did though. Like cuz I also watched the clip today and it was like a combination of both. Like
yeah, it was
she was
like, looked
reaching,
really
he
accidental.
was doing this, but I don't think he intended to burn her. I think that it was like luck of the draw. Her hand reached at this, and he kept saying, "If you're gonna grab my cigarette, I'm gonna burn you. If you're gonna grab my cigarette,
Mhm.
you're gonna get burned." I mean, I wouldn't try to grab a lit cigarette. So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah,
right.
and it just goes back to like me before whenever I said that Jin was like constantly instigating him. Like
yeah,
another live feed clip that I had watched in preparation for this was an argument kind of thing that he was having with her in the kitchen on the live feeds. And during that argument, like they're just jabbing back and forth at each other. And then Danielle and Nick come in the kitchen and she takes a jab at Danielle and that just set him off. And I'm like, see, you know that talking about
Justice for Jen.
anyways, obviously she knew if she mentioned Danielle, that was just gonna send him over the edge.
yeah, and not only that, but I just had recollection of. So Jen is not innocent either because I just had the recollection that Jen also cut up or threw away or broke or whatever his cigarettes.
Mhm.
And that is part of what set him off to hating her more than he already did. Like
Mhm.
after that is when he was like, I'm packing up your clothes, I'm blowing smoke in your face. Like, I mean, as a former smoker,
Yeah.
you have to come in that Big Brother house with all the cigarettes you need. And
Mhm.
that's what I'm saying. Like some of these things that people used to do, it's crazy that they allowed that to happen. Like the toothbrush situation, for example, like all these things people did, like it's crazy because they would never allow it in 2025.
They're
No.
like felonies today.
Literally, yes. That was like property damage that she did.
Hated.
Yeah. It really is wild. Like watching those clips today, I watched a ton of them over like the last week or so of season 8 specifically, but the ones that I was really watching today because it was more so live feeds today than like other ones. But I was just like, even after the first one, I was like, he would actually be expelled by the game rules today.
Yeah.
This
yeah.
would not have flown for a single day in a new season.
Like, am I bad for like not being upset? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how I
It
would
was a
feel if
different
that happened
time.
today. I guess it was, and like, because like for example, like when I'm talking about the cigarette situation, he also who was it? Who was the LGBTQ house guest that season?
Was it Dustin?
Dustin.
Yeah.
He said some extremely homophobic things
Exactly.
about Dustin having AIDS or something like to that effect. Like
Yeah.
he, and then it turned out this is a wonderful transition. I feel.
I mean,
I didn't even intend for this to happen.
karma is a bitch. Karma
Then
is
it
a
turns
cat.
out that Evil Dick. So fast forward, Evil Dick gets cast for BB13. And as we stated, there were like 6 people that were returnees. Jeff and Jordan, for example, were another one. And he was recast with his daughter Danielle once again, which I think all of us can mutually agree that we were like, in that time, we were like, this is going to be like a kick-ass episode. Like there's going to be so much chaos. Like the Jeff and then Rachel and Brennan. And like it was going to be so great.
So excited to see how Rachel and Dick were going to interact with each other. I was was so excited for that because I was like, they're
Literally.
either going to team up and make every person in this house absolutely miserable, or they're going at it all season long and it's going to be fireworks.
And unfortunately for us, we could definitely not talk too much about this because this is a different person, but unfortunately for us, Rachel decided to call Brendan her Bookie, and then they had to go to sleep early that first night.
I'm dead.
And so we didn't get to see her get into it with Dick because, you know, she had to go to bed because she called Brendan her Bookie. But anyway,
it's embarrassing.
It's just embarrassing, Rachel. Okay, so back to my segue. So Evel Dick gets cast for this season. We're all super excited on the BB community. But sadly enough, he only makes it like 1 or 2 nights before he is called into the diary room, and he never comes out. At that time in 12?
12?
Had to be 12. 11 or 12,
2011.
yeah. Around that time frame. Early, little past the twins, but like definitely still early 2000s. We at that time, all we knew is that there was a family emergency, but he did not return back to the house. And we did get like a video clip of him a little bit later where he just, I guess because Danielle was taking it so hard, because Danielle was like, you don't understand my dad. It's gross. Like, he loves this game so much. Like, he would never leave unless he had to. And so he did film like a little clip, and they showed it to the house or her or whatever. And it was essentially him saying like, I'm good. Everything's good. I just had an emergency and I had to go. And he also, I think he went to the effect of saying my girlfriend at the time, he was like, she's good. Like, no one's in immediate danger. Please, no, please rest assured. But like, I had to leave. And that was confusing to a lot of us. But what, around a year, 2 years or so later?
A while later. More than just a
few
couple
years later. We find out via like a MySpace post or something. I believe it was MySpace.
No, he went on either like was it like a marriage boot camp or like a rehab something or other? I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, it was like some relationship-based show, I want to say, that was on VH1, one of those shows.
That he finally talked about it on that show as to why.
I guess I forgot that. I do remember there being like a MySpace or Facebook or some kind of social media post of his that he talked about it, but I do not remember the marriage boot camp. So who was he on marriage boot camp with? Was he on with Danielle?
It was his like girlfriend at the time.
Okay. So he comes out on the marriage boot camp or some sort of other reality show, and he indicates on that show that the reason he left BB13 is because he found out that he had HIV. And he, Big Brother does do screenings, but because they were, I guess, returning, they kind of let the rules slide to what I'm aware of. And, they did the testing not in the early like casting phase, but they did it like, before letting them re-enter the house because he had been in the house before. So they presumed that he was probably fairly, mentally and physically stable,
Yeah, I think it was just the timing of it because there was a lot of speculation on who the returning people were going to be. So I feel like they probably just brought him out last minute and then, thinking that all of them were going to pass the test since they had before, it was just delayed like a few days compared to the rest of the cast. So yeah, they probably don't do that anymore.
I guarantee they do not.
They learn their lesson. Nearly as long.
Yeah, that's right. At the beginning or in the earlier seasons before COVID, they weren't that long at all.
No, but they had returnees after that, several different seasons. So I would venture to guess that they probably at least, pulled them in and sequestered them in the same amount of time so they could make sure the test results came back. Because this did not go well. So unfortunately, he had to leave. And that was really unfortunate because, like, who was it that was going to go home? Somebody was going to go home, but it totally flipped that first week, too. Because, like, Dick had brought in, like, a couple of the newbies to the Returnees Alliance. And they had made, like, a plan. But the twist that season was like everybody was partnered up, even the newbies. And so like whoever, Danielle ended up being safe to move forward. And it like, whatever happened, it ended up, I can't remember who went home that first week, but it ended up being like somebody else went that wasn't already gonna go. Like it was like it changed that whole dynamic of that week. And it also caused a blow up between like Brendan and Jeff. Because if you remember, like they were all immediately the returnees went to the HOH room, and it was either Brendan or Jeff. I think it was Jeff that was like, F this, like, because he knew, like, now we really are outnumbered. They thought that by picking one off from the returnees side, that they would be in a really solid spot moving forward the next week. But that was no longer going to be the case.
Yeah, well, and also to go along with that twist, when someone got eliminated, if their partner got eliminated, they got that golden key, and they couldn't
what it
like
was called.
compete in competition. Like they were basically like a non-factor in the game until the time when the people with the golden keys didn't have to worry about the golden keys anymore. So like Danielle wasn't going to be someone competing for them either, and she was a good competitor.
Which also caused Danielle to get close to Dominic, because once she got the golden key, I forgot that's what it was called. Once she got the golden key, she immediately was like, I can't do anything but play a social game now. So she started making friends, and she linked up with Dominic.
Mm-hmm.
Which worked out. They have 2 kids now. Okay, so is there any other memories that you can think of, Allie or Nicolette, that we haven't touched on about Evil Dick? Overall, we can all mutually agree he's chaotic. But are there any other specific moments that we can think of from either of his seasons? No. Okay, so what we're going to do for each week that we do these special episodes, we want to all of us answer these questions. The first one is Evil Dick strategic or is he reckless? Let's start with you, Allie. Do you think he's a strategic player? You do? Why?
Evil Dick is strategic. Absolutely. He did everything within his power to do exactly what his goal was, and his goal just happened to be to protect his daughter for as long as he could. He succeeded. He ended up winning the game. He brought her as far as he could. There's nothing else he could have done. Strategic.
I agree.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Even though I don't think he's long game strategic, the reasons he did the things he did were definitely strategically driven. So I would 100% agree strategic.
Yep, I agree. Same thing. Not long term, short term, but panned out for him.
Mm-hmm.
The next question we're going to ask is, do we think Evil Dick is entertaining or is he just annoying? I can go first.
Iconic. The pots and pans. That's icon status.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he wouldn't have been getting all those America's votes if he wasn't entertaining.
No. He's a BB legend. I would put him in the BB legend category. Up until the more recent years, he was probably one of my favorite players. But I've since had to change my mind, which we're going to talk about. And the third question is, how would you rank him on a scale of 1 to 10 for chaotic?
Ooh, 1 to 10. He's a solid 9.
9.5. 9.5.
Yeah, 9.5 is what I was thinking too. I don't know. Honestly, we're starting off with such a bang. I don't know if anyone will rank higher on that scale than him. Honestly.
I don't know.
There's one person I think that could be a little bit more chaotic.
Who?
Is it a recent player?
My favorite.
Is it Angela?
My girl Angela. She's so chaotic.
Love her. Okay, yeah, definitely solid 9.5 for me, maybe even 9.6. I don't know. Like he's up there, but now let's all talk about some of what we know about Evil Dick now. So there's a reason why in the BB community he's like a little bit blacklisted, because he has just done and said quite a few things that like I said, he made some controversial statements while in the house. Now, we can also step back and remember what year that was. You know, there were other people that said things like, for example, Janelle said the R word while she was in the house. That's pretty famous. It's not okay, but at that time, that was a word in a lot of people's vocabulary. We now know better. We don't use that word anymore. Evil Dick did things that I don't think even at that time were mean and not okay, but he got away with it because at that time we weren't like jumping on people when they were doing things inappropriate the way we do now. But his Twitter, he's a lot on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day, MySpace too, but I don't know if he does Facebook, but I know he used to be on MySpace. But Twitter, he gets himself into a lot of trouble on there. So I think a lot of us in the BB community have just kind of written him off. Sadly enough, he's tarnished his legacy a little bit.
I don't think he would ever have a chance to come back. So I think that kind of put him in, there's nothing he can do about it at this point anyway. And I also kind of feel like, and this is not an excuse for anyone, but Mickey on the BB UK season right now, he's very out of touch with today's world. Mm-hmm. And I feel like Dick's kind of same situation is just not aware of what the world is today.
Mm-hmm. I think what's so crazy about Dick though is, and even on one of the clips I was watching between him and Jamaica is it's like he is pretty aware to like a certain extent. It's like he can't just take that next level or something, because they were having a conversation about like the perception of Black people in reality TV, specifically Black women, which I was honestly shocked to see the conversation because I don't remember those kinds of conversations happening back then, but it was probably cut from the show because it was a live feed clip. But like he was totally like being understanding, learning, trying to relate to her, all these different things. And I'm like, but then you turn around and you're such a terrible human to her. And even, you know, just his coverage of every season, he goes out of his way to find a mean way to make comments about almost anyone and everyone. And it's just not working anymore. I haven't followed him for the last several seasons because I can't do it anymore, honestly.
But if y'all do want to follow him, he has Big Brother watch parties sometimes. So I think he does on like Patreon or something.
No, he has his own website. It's called Dick at Night. I literally
Yeah.
used to watch it. Like, that's how much I used to be kind of involved with him. The first season that I really tuned into the live feeds was season 17. And I subscribed to his Dick at Night at that time because he was having all these old contestants come in and interview and break down the season. I was like, this is so cool. But yeah, no, that didn't last very long for me.
But that's like what, like 2016 or so? Like that's around the time that like we were starting to not be okay with a lot of the things that he was saying. You know, none of the things he was saying were ever okay. But there was a time in the 2010s that like we knew they weren't okay, but we weren't like canceling people over them. Now we just abruptly cancel people because like, you know, not to say the R word, you know, like things like that, you know, not to say the N word. But no, Evil Dick is definitely somebody who I would say, like Allie mentioned, he's definitely not going to ever be invited back. But I wonder if he also doesn't care now because, like, I want to know why he left. Like, did he have to leave or did he choose to leave? Because I feel like that's always been foggy for me on whether or not he chose. Because, like, to me, do you have to leave just because you have HIV? Or maybe they told him, like, you have to disclose this to everyone in the house now if you want to stay. And he was uncomfortable doing that on national television, perhaps. Like, I don't know. Maybe they don't. Maybe it's a rule that you can't have HIV in the BB house. Like, I understand, especially at that time, why that might have been a rule. I mean, nowadays, like, there are medications people can definitely take that, like, make it almost indetectable. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think he had to?
I don't remember if I might just be making this up. I want to say he like made a tweet or something about this before, and he said that he decided to leave. And I think it's just once you get that sort of news about yourself, I think you do just need to remove yourself, especially from national television.
Yeah, I think I remember the same thing, Allie. I think that he said he made the decision, and probably part of it too, to start treatment. I mean, especially back then, there was so much fear and like unknown around HIV that like had to have been devastating to get that news.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, heck, I started school in like 1998, 97, 98. And like, that's when I started kindergarten. So like, I remember in my preschool and early elementary years, I remember teachers having conversations with us about like, if somebody cuts themselves, don't touch it. Like, like that's how, you know, which I mean, yeah, it's probably a good practice not to touch somebody's blood, but like it was like it was a regular enough conversation that I, at my big age of 32, still remember teachers instructing us to please never touch anyone's blood.
Yeah,
So, you know, I mean, we at those points in time, we knew that that's probably not exactly how it works, but we were still there was still a lot of fear mongering around the HIV topic. So, well, does anybody have anything else that they can think about Evil Dick? I think that Nicolette is correct, and he is probably going to be pretty high on our ranking. We have started with a bang.
No, I don't have anything else to add about Evil Dick. Allie, do you?
Don't.
Okay. I have something to add about Allie, though. I can't believe we forgot to mention at the top of the episode when we were introducing Allie that she is our 2-time trivia BB winner, and she is the BB trivia queen. I don't know how we did not mention that.
You're right. I goofed.
The ultimate
I messed
super
up.
fan here.
Yes.
Ultimate. Yeah, so I guess we should talk about like Allie. Like we know Allie from TikTok. Nicolette and I post videos. I think Allie posts some videos on TikTok too, don't you?
Yeah,
Just a
I'm
few.
just a casual TikTok
Here and there.
person. Yeah.
Yeah. And we just got to know Allie from like our lives, going live and just like in the comment sections of videos. And we love Allie. And she joined us for our first, I think we've done it 2 or maybe 3 times, the Big Brother trivia. And Allie, I think, won both times. So that was really cool. And then also, I wanted to ask Allie about, she had a pretty cool experience recently visiting Trisha Paytas.
Yes, I just did the meet and greet with her. I think it was last week or the week before. So it was actually my second time getting to meet Trish. I've been a fan since I was in high school. I love her so much. She's so nice. I got to meet Moses. Her dad was there. Like it was just so cool. It was everything.
That is so cool. I love that.
When you met her, so you said this is your second time. Was the first time, like, how long ago was it?
It was the 2019 tour. So it was like right after the breakup with Jason Nash and vlog squad and all that. Yeah.
Did she, like, remember you at all or no?
No, but it was funny because she did say the same thing that she did the first time I met her. First time she because I had just gotten engaged. So she saw my ring and she was like, "Oh, like, congratulations, can't wait." And then she looked at me and she's like, "Wait a minute, like, you kind of seem young." And I was like, "No, like, I'm an adult, it's okay, whatever." So I meet her again this time and I'm like, "Hey, here's my husband." And she's like, "Husband?" So it was sweet. She's so nice in person.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
She is pretty cool. I will be honest, I really did not know who she was until she started having some controversies. So then I was like, I don't know, am I allowed to like her? Like, I don't know what's going on here. I don't know who this is. So I really didn't know who she was until TikTok era, but I have since deep dove and discovered that she was on the YouTubes. I was more of like a
The YouTubes.
it's more of like a Shaytards YouTuber, like a Jenna Marbles. Like, yeah, Shaytards. I could talk.
Marbles.
I could talk for days about Shaytards. Like, I
could talk about the
literally.
Shaytards. I could talk about Jenna. I was a YouTube kid that's just
Same.
evolved into TikTok kid,
Yes.
adult.
Yeah, so I didn't have I wouldn't say I had the most wonderful childhood in the world. So I think I loved watching Shaytards looking back because I wanted that type of family, like mom, dad, all these kids, and you could tell they really loved each other. Now it sucks they had some of the things happen that they had in the later more recent years, but I actually, side note, during the TikTok ban, I was like, what am I going to do? Let me get on YouTube for the 12 hours that TikTok was down. Got on YouTube and watched the Shaytards Christmas special from 2024. And I was like, it was so crazy because it wasn't the same. Back then it was you know how him and Carly and his brother, they would all be together and all their kids, they would all stay at their parents' house, and all of their kids would literally sleep at grandma and grandpa's house, and all the adults would stay up and wrap all the presents, and they would do all these crazy things. Now it was just Shay and and Colette and the kids, and they were inviting over friends, and some of the kids had to fly in, one of I think it's Princess Tard. She's still always gonna be Princess Tard to me. I think it's Princess Tard. She lives in California now, so she had to fly in. I don't know, it was just so different. I don't know, it was different, but it was cool seeing how big these kids are. They were kids. I was older than them, so to me they were little tiny kids, and he was throwing them up in the air on the trampoline, and now they're I don't know. That was, yeah. So I was that type of YouTuber. I wasn't really watching and then I was watching the viral videos, the shoes. Oh my god, shoes. I was watching the viral.
Yeah.
Or Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds.
I was over on the beauty side of YouTube, which is really
nobody
weird
got time
now.
for that. Ain't nobody got time for that.
I was obsessed with Juicy Star 07, and this year she started making videos again.
I don't know who that is.
And I love it so much.
You'll have to send me a video. I don't know who that is. But I will say, around COVID, I discovered Bailey Sarian. Love her. Love her. Because in the beginning of COVID, I wasn't on TikTok. I didn't get on TikTok until COVID, when I was everybody else is on here, I guess. Because in 2019, I was I don't know, this is for kids. And you would hear the stuff on even back then they were talking about this is from China, and the app's gonna go away. So I just chalked it up as it's the new Tumblr, or I'm too old for that. It's the new, whatever. And then I guess everyone's had nothing better to do, and they got onto TikTok, and I did too. But before that, I was kind of going, looking around on YouTube, of course, and I found Bailey Sarian, and I love true crime. And it was kind of cool because it's like it gives you something to watch while talking about the true crime, you know, like you're watching her do her makeup, and she talks a little about herself sometimes too. I don't know. She's pretty cool. I just
I
rambled way
love
too long about
Bailey.
YouTube.
Bailey and Kendall Ray are like my two favorite for like true
Yes.
crime. Yeah.
I watch Kendall Ray also. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how we know Allie is because of the interwebs. The interwebs. We know her from the internet, and she is definitely a BB aficionado like ourselves, and so we love Allie. This was fun, Allie. You'll have to come back and join us again sometime.
Yes, thank you. I had fun.
I'm so glad that,
Yay.
because Nicolette and I were talking about doing this, and I was like, we have to get like, you know, it's fun to get like to reach out to like maybe BB contestants or whatever, but like we need people like that have, my goal for this is like not even people that like create content, like people that consume the content, I feel should join us, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. This
BB
kind of
nerds
reminds
like
me of,
us.
yeah, like it's kind of like Rob has a podcast. I feel like they like occasionally like bring in like random people. Like this very much feels like that.
Yeah, and Nicolette and I oftentimes say that we are the weirdos in our real life. Like no one else likes Big Brother to the extent that like I have friends that watch Big Brother? Sure. Do I have friends that watch the live feeds 24/7? No, I do not. No, I do not. I'm
That's true.
invested.
If I
Yeah,
told
I
my
don't know.
friend, go ahead, Allie.
Go
Well,
ahead.
I was just gonna say I don't know anyone in real life that actually watches the feeds. Now that you bring that up,
So people that maybe like catch the clips from like, you know, the other creators like me, Nicolette, Sarah, Abigail, you know, whoever's like talking about Big Brother or maybe sharing clips. Like there's a few Instagram accounts that do a really good job of sharing clips. Like I know people that maybe like will casually watch those. I have one friend that like looks on Reddit, and then she'll text me and be like, Reddit is saying this. And I'll be like, that was like, that's not what really happened. Like, but I don't know anyone that actually physically logs in and watches live feeds, which concerns me for the longevity of the long feeds. Not gonna lie to you guys.
Yeah.
So I love that we're getting people into this and sparking these conversations about Big Brother on TikTok. Well, I guess that's all we have for today. I'm so glad that we got to chat, and I'm so excited to talk about our next chaos creator with you next week, Nicolette, and we have a different special guest joining us next week. So you guys absolutely have to stay tuned. We may tease a little bit of what that is later on. So stay tuned with us on our TikToks. I am at _Reality Allie. Allie, you want to plug your TikTok? You can if you want.
my TikTok is Janet Rakuten. That's name. I always forget about it.
I was so confused when I got your email address today because I was like, who the hell is Janet?
Is that your mom? Like, who's Janet? I was like, what? I look at you, I just see Allie. Like, I don't see the at, you know? Anyways, and then Nicolette is, you always have to say this for me.
BookishTV.Nicklin.
Brooklyn.
Yeah, that'll work.
A little inside joke. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us. This was the Girl Gab podcast. Have a wonderful rest of your days. Bye.
Bye.